Every building has its own unique history. But sometimes a haunted past can rear its head with truly horrifying consequences.
Paranormal Survivor, Jailhouse Shot, interview with Sandy Boyd. Take one, marker.
The Lake County Jail officially closed in 1973.
After its closure, the jail was turned into a historical museum.
Sometime in 2008, I came in for a regular tour, and I fell in love with the building, and I started volunteering after that, and I ended up doing tours myself. Originally, in 1882, it was built with 10 cells.
The jail once housed dangerous criminals, from one of Al Capone's most feared hitmen to notorious Depression-era gangster John Dillinger. Sandy sometimes got the feeling that some of the old inmates were still in their cells.
When you walk through the building, you do get a creepy feeling, and I think what it is that you feel like you're being watched. You hear footsteps, and at first you're not sure where they're coming from. It sounds like hard-soled men's shoes walking across the floor, and the first thing your imagination wants to do is picture a guard doing his guard walk. And then at times you hear cell doors closing.
Jails are very common places to be haunted by spirits because of the fact that there's a lot of negative energy. There's a lot of depression, there's a lot of aggression, there's a lot of anger, and all of those things manifest in some way. They manifest in energy, and that energy can become trapped in that environment.
At first, Sandy thought the museum could cash in on the creepiness of the jail.
I approached the board to start ghost hunting about a year after I'd been here as a tour guide.
Sandy's son, Randy, also volunteered to help.
I do the paranormal tours during the weekends to help raise the funds for restoring the jail.
It was supposed to be fun, but the more that we started doing it, it was not always, as fun. Sometimes it was uncomfortable.
You're always on edge inside the jail. It's like you're constantly in a room where nobody kind of wants you in here. Sometimes you feel very crowded. Other times you feel like eyes are always on you, and it's just kind of uneasy to be in here. There was a time when I was walking away from a group that was doing an investigation of their own. I was just walking down the hallway. I looked up. I was scared, stiff.
Sandy Boyd and her son worked as tour guides at an old jailhouse museum, but strange activity plagued the building, and it didn't take long for the spirits in the prison to make their presence known.
I was walking down the hallway. I looked up. And there was a shadow that was standing there. I didn't want to move. I was scared, stiff, wondering what it is. How is this actually in front of me? What is it going to do? Shadow was in front of me about 5 seconds or so, and then disappeared.
I saw Randy standing there. He wasn't moving, He wasn't making any sound or talking or pointing anything out. He was just standing there staring. Okay, what's going on? What's going on?
By the time that my mom had gotten there, it had already vanished into thin air. I was no longer able to see it, and neither was anybody else.
When I finally got Randy's attention, he looked over at me and then he looked straight back up and he said, "I just saw somebody."
There was something right there.
There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Don't worry. Just come on.
We went and got the voice recorder and we thought, if there is somebody there that wants to talk.
Is there anyone here that wants to talk to us? Anyone? Anyone that wants to speak to us?
We just started asking some questions out loud. Are you a male? Are you female? Are you an inmate? Are you a guard? Is there something you need to tell us?
Anyone here that wants to speak with us?
We played back what we had recorded and we listened back to all of our questions. We heard a man's voice, loud and clear. What's happening?
You can clearly hear somebody in the background saying, "What's happening?"
Sounded confused, sounded scared. It was terrifying to hear a man's voice like that.
It makes you feel as if there's a lot that you don't know about that's going on in a building that you go into every day.
Despite their encounters, Sandy and Randy continued with their ghost tours.
We had begun doing a haunted house for a fundraiser in the jail. We invested money into, decorating the jail.
Before opening night, Sandy had a few last-minute preparations.
Before I started painting, I kind of said out loud, "Hey guys, I'm just in here, just gonna paint this, and I'm leaving."
Just gonna finish up painting. I won't be long and I'll be out of here.
But Sandy's attempts to appease the jail spirits was to no avail.
All of a sudden, I got that feeling that somebody was in my personal space. They were a little too close. I looked around and I didn't see anybody physically there. And then behind me, I had some metal chairs stacked up against the wall. One slammed down to the floor directly behind me. It wasn't like it had just slid down the wall. It was thrown to the floor with some force.
When an entity can physically move something, such as throwing an object, it is extremely powerful. It takes an exorbitant amount of energy for an entity to concentrate its energy and move something. They're trying to get your attention. They're trying to either warn you to be careful or warn you to get out. It's not always evil, but they are trying to get your attention.
I happened to kind of turn. There was a man just standing there.
Afraid of what might happen next, Sandy and her son Randy reached out for professional help.
Sandy called us in 2015 for us to come in here and search and see if there's paranormal activity that Sandy was stating that was happening in here. I brought my cousin Dan Marshall and my wife Brandy Rush. My wife is a medium. She can see the entities, helps us with our evidence. They talk to her.
When Brandon's team came in, We concentrate on areas that we felt the most energy. So there's a long tunnel in the jail, and it's actually just to connect the 1908 edition to the 1928 edition.
Upon entering into the tunnel, it's real dark, eerie, just real creepy feeling.
Brandy was getting a lot of strong feelings.
James. I'm feeling James. He's angry.
She mentioned the name James, and we knew the name James, and I was actually kind of surprised that she had picked up on that name so quickly. We had an inmate here, his name was James First Salmons, and he was Al Capone's right-hand man. He had got on a lot of hits for Capone. He was not a nice man in any way.
He came towards her very negative. You need to go. Get out. I feel like there's spirits all around you. It felt like people touching you. I felt a cold hand grab my arm real tight.
You guys feel that?
And at that time I turned around to ask my cousin, "Did you grab me?" He says, "No."
At that point, we had decided to investigate a different part of the jail, and we headed up the stairs to the 3rd floor where there's a federal cell block.
The 3rd floor housed the jail's worst criminals in the toughest conditions. Solitary confinement.
While we were there, we had our K2 meters on. With Brandy having sensitivities to energy, she again felt something that was more aggressive and maybe a little more negative than she was used to.
Are you okay?
My fear for Brandy was that she had made this connection with James, a hitman for Al Capone. It's when she had first came in. And because of her stature and that she's a little on the smaller side, I was afraid that James had targeted her.
When Jailhouse Museum tour guide Sandy Boyd was tormented by a ghostly apparition, she called in paranormal investigators. Now, they were being attacked by the spirits of previous prisoners.
He came towards her, breathing down her neck. My wife, I felt like somebody pinched her in the back. Started feeling kind of warm back there. Looked up her shirt. She had a scratch, but it was a weird kind of scratch. It was shaped like a cross. She felt it was James, said for us to leave.
And Brandon's wife wasn't the only one to experience disturbing paranormal activity.
My cousin Dan, he started feeling like he was real hot, sweaty, dizzy, felt like he was gonna throw up. I almost had to hold him because he was gonna fall down.
Dude, we gotta go. We gotta go.
The team may have been finished with the investigation, but the spirit was not finished with them.
When I started walking down the guard range on the 2nd floor, I walked up on a 6-foot shadow, but it darted around the other corner. My cousin Dan seen it running at him.
Dang on.
He was really scared because it came running towards him and went right through his body. And that's when he started screaming, and I came running over there. And he says, I feel real hot on my back. Something going on, you know? I lift up his shirt. You see a bright scratch all the way down from his neck, halfway down his back.
Let's go. Come on.
Due to the violent attacks, Brandon put an end to the investigation.
Being my wife and my cousin being attacked on this investigation was very shocking. It was very scary for them being attacked because you don't know. You just don't know what you're getting into.
The attacks had a profound effect on Sandy. But rather than have the historical spirits removed, she switched up her approach.
We've changed the way that we interact with ghosts. We have a lot of pleases and thank yous.
We became more personable, a lot more courteous, thank you, please, treating them like they were actual people.
Thank you. Rest in peace. Brandon and his team questioned us if they could help us, if there was anything that we would want them to do with us or for us. And, you know, we kind of made a decision at the time that it's not up to us to do something about it. Whatever is going on in this building has been going on long before we got here, and will probably go on long after we leave.